Welcome back to another episode of Dungeon Hammer, brought to you by One Mind Syndicate. I am your host, Gershwan, and I'm here with my two co-hosts,
Docile Creature
and the Sound Alchemist.
And today we're going to be talking about creating epic battles in Dungeons and Dragons. First of all, have you guys done it before? Or have you experienced an epic battle as a player?
Never. All my battles are mundane, and I hate them.
I think we've all been witnessed an epic battle.
Well, it depends, because epic could mean many different things. You could see an epic battle and not actually be a part of it. And epic could be just a awesome one-on-one with like great dialogue, and it may not even be the combat that makes it epic.
Okay, so when we say epic, what do we mean then?
What I assumed epic was...
Well, let's not assume, because we all know what happens with that.
Yes.
We make an ass out of you and me. And I'm hungry, so watch out.
So it's been more than just like one combatant, like multiple combat in multiple areas, and not just like an epic battle, not a boss battle, but an epic battle. I thought we meant like just
large scale.
Yeah.
Like
epic rap battles of history.
Nope, no. Like D-Day, like storming the beaches of D-Day.
Yeah.
I don't think that was epic for the soldiers there.
In scale, it was epic.
Scale, yeah.
Am I divulging too much from this?
Oh boy.
But the big thing about creating an epic battle is, I think the most important part is creating the narrative and making sure that your players understand what is happening. Kind of like what we're trying to do right now with the Sound Alchemist, and just explain like, no, it's an epic battle. It's things are flying around everywhere, and there's like monsters coming out. So I think the narrative aspect of an epic battle is probably the most crucial part when you're first starting it out. What do you guys think?
Yeah. But I don't know what epic means.
Okay.
No, but yeah, when I think epic battle, I think it's more about what has been leading up to this fight. Because if you're the DM and you're crafting an epic battle, you think, oh, they're fighting like on the edge of a cliff, and then they're gonna fall off, and there's gonna be lightning, and it's gonna be raining. But if the characters aren't invested in it, it may not be epic for them, but just the surroundings and like the nature of the battle may be epic to you.
Yeah, that's something not even necessarily scale, but make the battle, the terrain, I guess, the weather, everything that's happening around the battle be epic as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, lightning and rainstorms, earthquakes,
Right.
volcano erupting in the background or whatever. That will make it epic.
You're right, but I mean, is that really like, does that even add to the fight? Or is that just all embellishment?
I think so.
I think it's a definite add, just because we've experienced that. When you have the DM who is just as enthusiastic about a battle as the players, it builds the players up. Like if you as a DM show that, yes, this is an important battle, and you're just very descriptive, I think what that translates to the players is like, this is an important thing. Like, you guys need to pay attention to the fact that there's other things going around you. You're not the center of this battle, basically.
Yeah, I think it's important to be more kind of cinematic when you're having a big epic battle. This might be blasphemous to you two, but I don't think you should have like 1,000 orcs versus 1,000 elves or whatever, and you're rolling every dice like, okay, now the 1,000 elves are going to attack the 1,000 orcs, and then the blah, blah, blah. I think you should really focus on the little combat that your players are immediately involved in,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of have the epic battle be more of a backdrop in general to what's going on in the smaller combats that they're going throughout the epic combat.
Right.
Yeah, I think that is really important. We've been in situations where there have been like an insane amount, like an unfathomable amount of opponents, and the DM doesn't think you're actually going to attack them, but then you do attack them, and then you realize like, oh dang, I have to go through each individual warrior and do the stats. And you should never run that in D&D, because D&D is not the type of system to do large scale battles like that.
It's more personal.
Yeah, it's more personal. So you've done a really good job of of doing this, not with us, but with another campaign you were running, right? So how did you do it?
Yeah, like I basically took exactly from what I said earlier of storming the beaches of Normandy, and I just implemented it into D&D. They were storming a beach on some castle or whatever, and basically at the end of every turn, because something that really shines to me about that movie and is really impactful is you can see all the horrible things that are happening to the people around these people as they're just charging up the beach. So at the end of every turn, I would just, or every round of combat, I would stop and I'd describe something. Like the guy, you see a squad of soldiers get crushed by a rock that was thrown by this giant, and the gore just splatters everywhere. And this, as this rock rolls down the beach towards the people charging up the beach next to you, and you can hear their screams. And after it rolls by, there's a soldier with a broken leg and his bone sticking out of his leg. He's just sitting there screaming, and nobody can get to him. Just stuff to be really cinematic and visceral, and I guess it depends on the kind of tone you want to set with the epic combat, but I like to see the grittiness of the war because you don't really get that in D&D all that much of how messed up it can be. So I think it's a really good opportunity to just not have this long story at the end of every round of combat, but just a quick explanation about maybe something like that, something that's visceral, something that's gonna have your players go, holy crap, that's messed up.
Right,
or
you don't want that happening to your player.
Yeah, or communicate something that's important that's happened in the battle. Like say, oh, on the right side of the battlefield, it looks like the orcs are overtaking the elves, or vice versa, or the orcs are unveiled their master plan and they have this secret weapon that you weren't thinking about, or something like that. Make the combat a story, and every round of combat is a new page. Like unveil something new, or present some new information to your players at the end of every round of combat, or every two, or whatever.
Yeah.
Depending on how long you want it to be.
And that does bring up like another thing that you can do when you are describing things that are happening around your party. It doesn't necessarily have to be every single round or it doesn't have to be a full session of nothing but combat. It would be awesome for you to during like the initial combat say, oh, and you guys notice that like the general of the opposing army is now on top of a certain cliff or something, and then you can finish the combat on the beachfront, and then you have a little bit of like the party getting themselves together trying to help other people, but they know that towards the end of the session or eventually they need to reach that cliff to destroy that big bad guy that you might have. So creating an epic battle with multiple parts seems kind of like a good way to run it as well, where you don't just have straight combat every single time. There's like little sections, little pockets of like role-playing opportunities and just like opportunities to ask the players, what do you guys want to do other than combat? Because I have run a full session of nothing but combat. And I think one of the biggest things was the fact that like players don't like. I felt like you guys were kind of zoning out after a while. So I think like having short bursts of combat, followed by cinematic explanations, followed by like, what do you guys want to do based on the epicness of this or the atrocities that you see around you. So keep that in mind, I guess.
I think it's really important. I guess if your players really love combat and they would be all for the whole session of combat, do it if your players are gonna like it. But I like what you said. Like you can even have the quote unquote battle be the whole session, but it's not combat 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah.
Like going back to Saving Private Ryan, they had this battle and they had to weave through the streets and they just walked through just trying to get to this person that they didn't know they were looking at. And the whole thing was a battle or like a war, but it wasn't combat the whole time.
Right.
It's cool to see. It'd be cool to see little snapshots of what's going on between the skirmishes.
Yeah, and I think when you put yourself in the position of like when you were describing like the gruesome and the visceral realities of war, that also affects with the morality of your characters. Yeah, they're fighting to kill you, but if you take out the big bad guy, are they still going to be a threat to you? Should you take them out? Should you kill them?
Yeah, because again, going back to Saving Private Ryan, there's a point when after they control the beach, there are some people who are speaking in like Polish and trying to tell them like
It was
no,
German, wasn't it?
no, I don't think they were German. I think it was supposed to showcase that like a lot of the German fighters during D-Day weren't actually German, but they were like mercenaries from other places, and they were trying to scream and say like, no, we're just here because we were drafted by the Germans, and then the Americans kill them. It would be awesome for you to throw in a moral conundrum to like you said, make them realize like,
atrocities on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like are you just going to be like the attacker or the defenders, or are you actually going to, or vice versa, or whatever, if you're an attacker or a defender, are you going to be like the opposing side and just kill these guys, or actually going to talk to them and stuff like that? So in those small pockets between combats, throwing those moral questionings would be kind of cool. Yeah, and it also gives you the opportunity to if you prepared a cool monologue, to like do your little thing.
Yes.
Maybe you are taking the, I don't know, commander's side or whatever, and then just do your little thing.
Yeah, you have a great speech for your big bad guy to like rally the troops or to plunge your players into despair. That'd be the perfect time.
Yeah, make them magically enhance their voice on the edge of that cliff, and you got to fight through a whole army to get to him anyways, so he's going to be able to monologue all he wants.
Yeah. That would be cool, like throughout the entire thing, just small bits of like, even if he is instilling fear.
Yeah, like propaganda or kind of
yeah.
like just horror tactics.
What other things have you guys come across?
Besides just like gameplay mechanics, I think the actual table would have to be pretty epic, I guess, because theater of mind is cool and all. But if you're really trying to convey a certain atmosphere or a certain type of emotion, it might be easier, instead of just using your words, to actually show what's going on. Maybe buy some like castles or like a rock face or something like that and play out the scene.
Yeah, creating epic set pieces that kind of like what you were saying. Like if it's going to be a beachfront, and really make epic set pieces for the big battles. So it is like a beach, the streets, and then finally the big bad guy. And then in between, that's when you want to do the theater of mind.
Mm-hmm.
I think big battles should always kind of be big climactic moments in your campaign. It's not something that you should overdo or do every session, because it can get old really quick, I think.
Or it might belittle other, like if you have a big epic battle with like lights and like an awesome model, and you set up everything like the battlefield, and then you have another fight that's supposed to be equally as important, but you don't do anything to it, that might like throw your players off.
Yeah, you really should emphasize, like, put a lot of effort into both visually and story wise, because this should be a big moment in your campaign. Also think about why your characters are even there. Are they part of the army? Are they mercenaries?
Yeah, because if they do see like this huge defended fortified beach, what's to make them say, nope, I'm going home?
Yeah, I'm out of here. And then
true,
you've prepared this really awesome battle, and you got to make sure the stakes are high enough that's going to keep them charging up that beach towards certain death.
Yeah.
Or give them no retreat. So like if you are just recreating D-Day, it's
Yeah.
like, what are you going to do? You're going to swim back?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Get in your
try.
boat and start rowing.
Yeah.
That does bring up another point, though, because if it's an epic battle, you want to make it seem important. Make it deadly. Don't be scared to like pull back punches.
Yeah, if you have like a player or a NPC that's been joining your battle or your party for a long time, maybe this is the battle where he dies.
Yeah. Some badass NPC that like did some really heroic things, just take him out in a super unceremonious way. Just like, this is war. Like, you can die.
Yeah. Or even like actual player characters, take them out so that later on in the future, well, not intentionally, but don't be scared to take them out.
Yeah.
Because in the future, then they'll be like, whenever they remember about that individual that died, they're going to remember your epic battle. And they're going to remember how deadly it was and how atrocious it could
And all the other players, characters that survived are going to be like, oh, remember the battle? That's where we lost so-and-so.
That's where we lost Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
Is that a bad thing?
He was the Iron Giant.
Was he really?
Yeah.
I like
I
how
didn't know
that's
that.
where you go. When the most iconic role of Vin Diesel, the Iron Giant.
Where he said like 2 words. And a bunch of grunts.
I thought they were mechanical. The grunts.
Yeah, it was
That's
like
weird.
like a
Okay.
synthesizer or something.
Um,
But yeah, include Vin Diesel in your epic battles.
yeah, but set pieces for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Building characters, building moral conundrums, and having fun, I guess, with the.
Yeah, make it fantastical. Like I just made the example of orcs versus elves. That's super boring. Don't do that.
True.
Make like elves flying on griffins versus orcs flying on wyverns, and make sure to, if you're playing D&D, make sure that magic plays a big role, because it would, realistically. Magic is gonna, it's supercharge the way combat works in that kind of world.
It's true.
It's like the technology of D&D. If you have somebody that can cast a fireball, that can take out a lot of soldiers at one time. So maybe there's a row of just casters somewhere that just fireball, fireball.
And the other thing too is this world is so immense and grandeur that you really think there's not going to be like another party of like awesome warriors out there. Maybe have your party meet them to show you that, hey, we're not just fighting grunts on a beach. Like, we could actually die here, because look, here comes like Stonewall, the giant planet eater or something like that.
Yeah, like named characters.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're fighting against Stonewall, the
giant planet
giant
eater.
planet eater. Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember when he ate that giant planet?
Oh, that's Stonewall.
Another thing that I've always wanted DM to do is to showcase something, or showcase a city, and then show it during peacetime, and then introducing that in the epic battle during war. That way you get to see, like, maybe your party visited a certain shop. Well, now that shop is like completely destroyed and overrun by orcs, or like maybe you knew of a boy that used to sell papers on the corners or whatever, and now you see him getting attacked by the offenders. Basically making a city that the players interacted with just completely destroyed, and give them more of a reason why they need to defend it. And it's perfect for people who have been running a campaign for a while.
Right.
It's a nice change of pace, and it's a nice way of showing that, hey, no, like, this is not it's not a template. Like, my world is continually changing.
Now that I think about it, there was another epic battle that I did, which is similar to what you're saying right now, and it was just outside like the capital city of like the whole world, basically, and I blew it up at the end of it, because that just seemed like a super cinematic thing to do. And the only thing they really cared about was there's like some hotel or something, basically.
No, not the hotel.
Super fancy inn that they would stay in and get massages and stuff. They're like, oh no, is that place gonna be okay? It's like, don't worry about the billions of people that live there. But
that's awesome world building, because it does showcase, like, we were interacting with those people that giving us massages, and now those people are all completely destroyed.
yeah, that, and like, that's history that they were a part of.
That's true.
Like, if you continue to play in this world, people will refer to this as a moment in history, and you can say, yeah, my other character was just outside the walls when it happened. This epic battle, when Lord Home fell, I was outside fighting for it.
And that does bring up another point of, like, the fact that this is a historic event in your world. Make it so that once the epic battle is over, people remember that battle forever. So there's a certain prestige that comes with the fact that you were part of that battle.
Or infamy,
Yeah.
depending on what happened or what side you're looking at.
You could be completely on the opposite side of your world, and the party somehow hints that, yes, they were part of that, and all of a sudden they become, like, notorious for a certain thing. I think that would be
deserter
badass.
of the Battle of Lord Home.
Yeah, like that would be pretty cool.
Instead of
And
having infamy, it's like a mark of shame.
yeah.
It's like, oh, how did you survive when everybody else died?
Or if you were fighting for the elves love you because they can, I don't know, there's some reason that they know that you fought there, but all the half-orcs that you run into are like, they don't like you. You go into half-orc town and they're like, no, we don't serve your kind here.
That's all they
Yeah.
speak.
Or give them, like, pins and stuff. Like,
Pins?
like
Awards, like medals.
Yeah. That way they do showcase that. Like, if you go to another town, they're going to know what you did during this epic battle.
Right.
Another cool thing would be to like run into an orc later after the battle in a time of peace. Like maybe you fought somebody on the battlefield and then
Like on the
were
opposite side.
separated, and then later on you guys come across each other. How does your characters interact with that person?
Yeah, that
Because
would
you're
be
not
cool.
in combat right now. You're not enemies anymore, but a few months ago you guys were trying to kill each other on the battlefield. He
Right.
killed some of your friends, you killed some of his friends. How are you guys going to interact?
Yeah, like if you're fighting one-on-one against Stonewall, and then
The giant planet eater, yeah.
another planet eater comes in and he starts fighting you, and it's like,
That was my brother.
yeah,
We ate planets together. No, we can't.
I hate the small planets, he ate the giant ones.
Big Bang take Little Bang, right? But that, yeah, making sure that after the epic battle is over, you have,
lasting effects.
yeah.
On the whole world, potentially.
Mm.
Now, we've been talking about war as the main source of an epic battle. That's not always the case. If you really want it to be personable, it could still be something that your players remember. So let's say you have a character who has amnesia or like long-term memory loss, and they don't remember where they came from or something like that. And they find themselves perhaps maybe in a fight against like a shopkeep owner. And as the shopkeep is trying to push you out and you try to resist, maybe you go to like push him, and as you touch his flesh, you start seeing flashbacks. And then these flashbacks fuel you as they slowly reveal more and more of your past. And it's like, oh, he used to be like a slave owner, and he was the reason that like your family got taken and you got separated. And as like every punch is revealing more and more of your backstory. So now it's like an intimate encounter where you're learning more about yourself, but you're still fighting and you're still trying to like figure out who you are and like why you've been here. So it doesn't have to be like this grand battle. It could be more of a one-on-one type of thing.
Yeah. I think it is a little tricky, and I think we talked about this in our other video of how to create a character's backstory. It's tricky when you do have a player who has an epic battle in his backstory, and like continually like introducing that into that. Like it's hard to like justify. It's almost like going into a campaign with a character that has something really epic in his background without actually going through the epicness. So the flashbacks themselves might spark combat encounters or scenario encounters, and you as a DM can work out the backstory with that character along with the other party. So it would be kind of cool to, like, let's say you have a player who has an epic battle in his backstory, to have a session where you role play that epic battle, and it's not only that player who participated in that epic battle, but maybe other members in the party somehow, like, oh, where were you when shit was going down during this time? And maybe that's something that you can work out. But yeah.
I've done more epic battles than I remember, because I've done something similar to that, where somebody one of my characters was in a part of a big battle to defend a castle.
Yeah.
And basically what I did was they kept their character, and I basically pre-generated characters for the other players, and kind of was like, okay, you're going to be playing this person for today. I think this could go over differently depending on your party, but they seem to really like it. And also that way you can kill them, and they won't be as angry about it. Okay. Like if they're defenders of this keep, and they're meant to fail, and then you can kill them, and it's more cinematic.
Yeah. And it is a good way for you to showcase somebody else's backstory and have the party realize, like, oh, this is why this guy is an asshole, because he went through this.
Yeah.
And you get to play like the person that died or whatever.
I guess it's a good point. If you're a player and you've gone through an epic battle, how will that affect your character?
Yeah.
Think about, like, because PTSD is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I get that the adventuring life, there's lots of different things that can give you PTSD, but war in general, like seeing people that you care about just get slaughtered and all the gore and all that, it can get to you.
Yeah, maybe that's why your character has claustrophobia, because you were a part of like this huge raid, and you had all these like hundreds of thousands of soldiers trying to bust through the one opening in the castle, and it's just you felt all these bodies and the suffocation and all that, and after that you survived, but now you can't deal with crowds.
Imagine like the Jon Snow and the Battle
that's
of
exactly
the
what I was
Bastards.
thinking, yeah.
Like if being in that situation, that would mess me up. They were fighting on piles of corpses, and
Yeah.
this just feels hopeless.
So creating lasting effects based on the epic battle would be kind of cool. So like, because we talked about this during our podcast on how to run a horror story, where we talked about or a horror campaign, where we talked about what are they called, the Cthulhu thing, sanity checks.
Yeah.
So it would be really awesome during the epic battle to then tell your party, oh, by the way, this is like affecting your mind in a certain way. Roll me a whole new stat line for your insanity, and every single battle or every single encounter that goes that you continue with is going to affect your insanity or your sanity, and then create maybe a table at the end of the epic session to say now you are claustrophobic, or now you lost a limb, or make it something cool like that.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
And also seeing other people on the battlefield lose their sanity or break these really tough characters that you thought were unbreakable, just like cowering in a corner, just crying and shitting themselves.
Yeah. But it's really, really important, like the Sound Alchemist was saying, to make it so that it's a lasting effect. This battle is not, the way your party enters it is not the same way that the party's going to exit. Both role-playing wise and stat-wise. So messing around with maybe even someone's stats would be kind of cool.
Yeah. I like how you said losing limbs and losing eyes. Like all this stuff could be a cool way to. If you don't think your players are going to role play lasting effects, make them literal.
Yeah.
Like, you lost an arm, you lost an eye. Like that stuff's going to be obvious.
You lost an eye. You have disadvantage on perception now.
Yep.
Forever.
Or a greater restoration, but that's lame.
There's so many things that once you get to higher levels, they can just like say, nah.
Yeah. I don't like that.
Eh.
I kind of wish that it was more permanent, but whatever.
Then again, I think it's very rare for a party to go past a certain level, right?
Unless they start higher, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the highest I've ever gone was 10. Is that what level we were?
Yeah, we were level 10. We played one session at level 10.
Oh, we did. You're right. Huh.
Yeah, it depends, I guess, on your character's background or your character's stats. Because I didn't feel like I was a level 10 character when we were fighting.
To be fair, though, that's only halfway through the game.
That's true. Yeah, it goes
right. I mean, it's true though, because especially like you're seeing like these other characters do like 60 points of damage, and you're over here. I do Eldritch Blast twice.
Well, it also depends on the build. Like
Yeah.
some builds are going to be more damagey than others.
That's true. But maybe showcasing in this epic battle certain characters that like the DM will for sure say, yeah, this is a level 15 character. I want to show you how badass this guy's going to be. You can't beat him. Like, you might as well just try to run into the sewers and hide. I think that would be another thing to add. So not just like enemies that your party can defeat, but enemies that like your party needs to know, like, no, this enemy is as epic as this battle is.
Right. So that way, if you do defeat them, it's like, oh wow, like 3 level 10s took out a level 15.
You find out some cool way.
Yeah, it's like, no, this guy was a planet crusher, or you said planet
Eater.
eater.
Giant planet eater. Stone wall. Make failure a actual possibility. Like they can lose this battle, and that also has effects.
Right.
Like if you fail to take the beaches of Normandy, then the Germans keep it
Forever.
I mean, besides just a battle, what do you think makes something epic?
In D&D, I think it's magic, like fun monsters.
Yeah,
just
like
the
I'm saying,
scale.
like, besides just like the actual fighting aspect of it.
Whoa! So when you go into role playing encounters, I think you
Right, like in role playing wise, what is going to make it epic?
the epicness of it has to be you understanding of like what we were saying in the beginning of the podcast, the atrocities that are occurring, and how it's really changing the world. So you might even Because like I'm thinking now of like 40K and how during the when the Men of Iron attacked, these guys were terraforming creatures able to like basically create mountains or create caverns just by themselves. So having an epic battle that creates a crater that like now your party needs to figure out how to get out of. But not only that, there's other refugees in the same area and they're also trying to get out. So then the role playing becomes you realizing that this crater has been created, you realizing that the power of your enemy, and then you having to pick up after them and figure out like what are we going to do with these refugees, what are we going to do with these people.
I also think it's strictly role playing. It would be making your characters make moral decisions, like make morality really swingy, like really extremely moral decisions that they're going to have to face. The big bad, some sort of big bad that they've been chasing throughout the campaign, make that fight happen if you want it to be impactful. I think making the battle as impactful as possible, as big as you can make it, is epic. Not in a scale way, but roleplay way. Yeah.
As because I've been watching a lot of like videos on the battle of I think it's like the UK, like when Germany just kept bombing the UK during World War II, and giving your party the control of like deciding where the population hides, and like based on those role playing events, people might die. So like let's say like people are hiding in a certain sewer system, and it's your party has the control of whether they want to evacuate or not, and then maybe based on your charisma roll with you talking to the enemy, that might mean these kids or these families, these refugees are dying. So role playing that way would be kind of cool.
Yeah, make the characters make for the greater good decisions.
Right. Yeah.
Like the big bad is getting away on his airship, but he's kidnapped all the orphans from the orphanage. We can shoot him down right now and get rid of him. Do we do it? It's your decision. What do we do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's like what do you care? I don't know what you do. What do you do?
I would take the
when you do give them something like that, do you time them, or is it better to let them like think it out and like?
I think it depends on the decision, really. Like that one, I think give them a little time. If you are going to time them on that situation,
You mean answer right now?
it would make sense if they're getting away. That's a good question. I don't know what I'd want to do. I can see the validity in both.
Mm-hmm. But it also depends what kind of character you're playing.
Yeah.
If you're like chaotic, good, or neutral, whatever.
But even if you are playing a certain type of character, I do think that if you can pull on the right strings, you can get any player to be like, oh, wait, hold on. Let me think about this. Mm-hmm. Regardless of like whether they're neutral or not.
So I guess that's a point is know your characters and know what's going to get them, like know what's going to pull on their heartstrings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's kind of important because if you put obstacles in front of them that they really don't care about as characters, then it may seem like a big deal to you, but to the characters, they're not going to care. Oh, yeah, just kill the orphans. I hate orphans. Orphans killed my family or whatever.
But then if you say like, oh no, they're not orphans, it's actually like a really badass power blade that you can control and that gives you a +2 to whatever, then all of a sudden that party that
you
didn't
just
care
have to
about
slake
the
the
moral thing,
blade in orphan blood first.
But then it is like one of those situations of like, oh, I don't care about the morale, but I do care about being a power gamer, and I need that sword. So then you create a choice that way.
And also, if half the party wants to do one thing and half the party wants to do another thing, that also inter-party conflict, and that can really break bonds on the battlefield.
Definitely.
Now, would you say it's more of a morality choice to have it be the party against another choice, or to make it party versus party? Like, let's say you find out that this weapon that's going to give you like a +2 to whatever stat you want has actually attached itself to the arm of Roy, your barbarian pal that you've been friends with forever, and that it's slowly going to kill him. Do you cut his arm off to take the blade for yourself? Or do you let him have this power of a god but slowly let him die.
Is Roy a player? Another
Yes,
player at the
it's
table.
a player
Then
against player.
It's. I think that's a little different because that's kind of just squabbling over magic items, and that's not cool. Like if Bob wants to kill Roy's character or whatever for his magic item, that just seems petty.
Yeah, and I think that is like a completely different topic that we can talk about, like a person's goal versus the party's goal, or like.
But again, that also ties in with like bonds. You've been playing these characters for a long time. Do you forego that for that item you always wanted? Or maybe this item can like resurrect your dead family.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think it's definitely a moral thing, and it's something that the character has to decide, and you could include into an epic battle. But yeah, it's tough.
Yep.
Now, just to recap, the most important thing on an epic battle: number one, be descriptive, narrative.
Very, yeah.
Number two, really throw moral conundrums to your party, especially in between battles, and make sure that the session of this epic battle is not just combat, unless your party likes that. And then just
Lasting
have fun with
effects.
it. Yeah, have lasting effects.
Make
Yeah,
it
right,
matter.
right.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because if everybody forgets about this the next day, then it wasn't really an epic battle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we just saved Walmart from those gremlins.
That
Did
is
you
an
really?
epic. That's an epic battle right
I
there.
want to do that. I want to run that session.
Comment down in the comment section below. Let us know if you guys have been a part of an epic battle in D&D and what you guys liked about it, what you didn't like about it.
What made it epic from just any ordinary battle?
Exactly, yeah. We love to talk to you guys in the comment section, so we expect you guys to be down there. If you guys have any suggestions for other topics that you guys like us to talk about on this podcast, also comment down in the comment section below. We do this every Thursday, and yeah.
And that's all we got for you guys today. This has been the Sound Alchemist,
Docile creature.
Kirsch one.
and we are out of here.
Oh, if you could put my freedom first, and then